Guys, this is part 2 of a 2-part video I've done with my attorney where we talk about the contracts, mortgages, things you need to know if you're going to be buying a house with a mortgage.
There's a lot of places to rent in Sosua. If you're looking for peaceful, affordable, and tranquil, look at Casati Compai, Sosua's hidden gem. When you're ready to reserve at Casati Compai, my contact information is in the description down below.
What is do you know what, have you seen mortgages come across your desk, or actually it's more of a sale come across your desk, and what are the terms on that?
Okay, I want to clarify something really quickly. So basically, with the difference between I think we're mixing up mortgage and also a promise of sale. In the terms of a promise of sale, which can be done through seller financing. Mm-hmm. So with seller financing, essentially, you are allowed to make little payments or small payments on the property. You put a percentage down. This is essentially, you say, hey, I'm very interested in buying this property. I'm willing to give 50% right now. And then both the buyer and the seller agree that in the next, it can be 5 years, it can be 10 years, you're going to be making small payments towards finalizing the payment of the house. During those 10 years, you're not going to be the owner of the property. Essentially, you are going to have the right of ownership of the property, but you will become an owner as soon as you make the final payment.
So title doesn't transfer until debt is paid in full.
That's typically what it's done with seller financing.
Okay, because that's what we see most of is seller financing down here.
Yes.
And as an American, I just learned something right now because you said, well, it's not actually a mortgage. It's part of the sale. Where I assume it's just the same thing because I'm paying somebody a loan back over a set period of time at a set interest rate and a set monthly payment. To me, that's automatically a mortgage.
That can be done privately between the buyer and the seller, and he can be making that payment directly to the seller. However, you also have to get legal counsel and check and really revise that contract because you want to make sure that it's something that you can afford and accomplish throughout the years.
All right. How common is this? What under the seller having the private agreement with the buyer, how many payments can be missed before the seller takes the house back? What have you seen?
Okay, what I've seen is first of all, it's very easy to just have a conversation with the seller. But as soon as you sign that contract, you are bound. Here in the Dominican Republic, a contract is law between the parties. So you are not able to, just as you're not allowed to break the law in the Dominican Republic, you're not allowed to break a contract. So obviously there's some specifications and exceptions if the contract is deemed excessive or clauses, if a clause itself is illegal in the Dominican Republic. So there's some exceptions to that, but for the majority of the Dominican Republic, a contract is law between the parties. So whatever you signed on in that contract is going to be the law.
The life of the loan, or the life of that sales agreement.
So what I've seen typically is that the owner doesn't take the home back because they already are the owner of the home.
Right, yeah. Okay, right, because we just determined that title It hasn't been.
They don't take the home back, but what they do is that they are able to just terminate the contract.
So basically, get out. Or
They're
we're
able to
changing
they're
laws.
able to get out, and as a penalty clause, they will keep all of the sums that you already have given thus far.
What about improvements on the house?
They're typically it's typically deemed that
You lost it.
yeah.
Thank you for upgrading my house.
Any single type of improvement that you do on the home, if you default on anything, then you lose that as well.
And is it after? So it could be whatever's in that loan, 3 months, 4 months.
Yes.
Now, what about does the seller have to go to court to make this happen? Is the process quick? Is in the States, it's drawn out. It takes a while,
Yeah.
and a lot of people play that game back and forth in court. How does it work here?
So it depends also on what the contract says.
So you need a good lawyer that is not represented by the seller. We can't stress that enough.
Yes. You need to check the contract because even for the seller, it can be very difficult. You cannot just terminate the contract willingly.
Right.
You need the authorization from the court or with whichever institution you have deemed that will take care of the matter if one of the parties does not comply. But also the contract itself can say, if you do not, if a party does not comply, I am able to terminate the contract without having to go to any judicial proceedings. So that's also something that you're able to do. Also, if you default on any of those payments, typically what's done is that the seller is given two options. They're either able to get back pay with extra
Interest, right,
interest,
penalty.
or they're able to terminate the contract. So whichever they deemed.
So whatever
better for
the
them.
seller feels like
Yeah.
doing. Give me a little more money this month, we'll be okay.
Yes.
All right, see you, bye-bye. Get out of the house.
Yes, so you really have to take into account what the contract says, what that promise of sale says.
Is there a norm that's pretty much everybody kind of uses? So if you miss 3 months in a row, you miss 4 months in a row, is there like a set standard?
Typically, it's giving, it's not on a monthly basis, it's on maybe you're giving days. It could be a couple of weeks to days to just, you're getting notified that you're not complying with the contract. You're given certain amount of days to comply with the contract and give back pay.
So
And then,
hold on. This is so.
Yes.
If, let's say I'm that guy, and I bought a house from Mr. Gomez,
yes.
and boom, I missed the payment. Mr. Gomez can say you're in default, and it could be in a couple days.
So here's what's going to happen. You will have to get notified that you're on default. That's the first thing. So you will get served by a bailiff stating you are in default. You have to pay X amount by this amount of time according to the contract. And if you don't, we'll proceed to terminate the contract and collect, which means that you won't have the right of ownership to the home, and you will end up, the seller will end up as a penalty clause, typically receiving
Wow.
all the payments that you have done thus far.
So basically, if you're that foreigner and you're so dead set on getting into this particular property, and you just go with one lawyer, he could have it set up to where he takes that house back very easily, very quickly.
Yes.
So, wow.
Yes. Typically,
Wow.
But also what I want to add is that sometimes people are understanding depending on different circumstances. Many people say, sellers sometimes even say that, don't worry for payment or I made the payment, but the bank is not accepting, I'm late. So during these circumstances, that could be an option. However, that is on the seller's will. So basically, on the seller's just disposition on whether or not they want to be nice or not.
I don't want to be in that position.
Yes.
I do not. So again, it goes back to know what you're buying.
Yes.
Things are not set in stone here. There's not a set structure to when somebody is holding a note for you. So you need to really understand that contract you're buying.
Yep.
Because-
So that's totally different. That right of promise of sale, which gives you right of ownership, is totally different from the mortgage, which is just, it's a priority. You make a loan agreement with a party, and that home is giving as security if you default on that payment. So that's totally different.
From a mortgage from a bank.
Yeah, so
So-
basically that's, we call them here in the Dominican Republic, they're called hipotecas convencionales, which is basically, which is typically through the loan agreement is typically to purchase the house itself. So,
So as foreigners, we really need to know the difference between the two because
Yes.
they're structured totally different.
Yes.
And this is why I hear a lot where guys come down here, buy property, and lose the property because we have a mindset that it works similar to how it works back in the States, and it does not. So this is where guys have been able to have been taken advantage of by not understanding the two difference of ways of buying property down here.
yes.
I learned something today. Because I thought it was just the seller would register that promise of sale as a mortgage, and it's not. It's just a purchaser's agreement.
Yeah.
And if you don't fulfill the agreement, it goes back to the seller that quickly because it's not as in-depth as a mortgage is.
Yeah, they already hold ownership of the property through the promise of sale, but
And let's make that
Yes.
perfect. Let's make that so clear. When you're buying a piece of property from the seller, ownership does not transfer until debt is paid in full. Then the title gets put in your name.
Yep.
So let me ask you this question. Let's say I have that promise of sale contract through the homeowner. What happens if I sell the house to somebody else?
typically the promise of sales also says that you're not allowed to do that
Okay.
until you pay.
Because I'm
Until
hearing
you
some
pay the
things. I'm
price.
hearing some things around town where guys who have a promise of sale
But of
are
course-
selling it to another guy that's unaware that there's a promise of sale, which I would believe would be criminal.
Yes. So basically, not only there's penalties for the buyer if they don't comply. If you have a good attorney, there will also be penalties for the seller if they don't comply. So basically, what are the obligations of the seller? They have to give you a clean title, no encumbrances, no judicial proceedings on the property. The ownership of the property is not being questioned. The taxes are paid on the property. So they have to give you a clean property. That's an obligation of the seller, free of any employees, free of any debts, free of
Ada Norte,
yes.
Cora
Yeah,
Plata,
Cora
water company, electric company.
So you have to give a completely clean property, and also you will have to be, the seller will also have to sign the final purchase agreement. So basically, as soon as a promise of sale is deemed that paid, that the buyer already has paid everything, then you go on to sign the definitive sales agreement, where it says price has already been paid, I'm transferring ownership of the property, and then with that contract, you go to the
Register.
title registry, you also go to the tax office, and you transfer ownership.
All right. Let
the
me
buyer.
ask you this question.
The difference between the mortgage is that you don't do a promise of sale in the mortgage, typically. What you do is that you do a definitive sales contract where you use the loan given to you and put to buy the property, and that loan agreement you submit it with the contract of ownership, and then what it will say is that, okay, now the buyer is owner of the home, however, there's a mortgage on the property. And if anyone has the deed of the property, they're even able to look up online, and they will be able to even look at the contract. They're able to look at the contract that
So
they
all
signed.
that becomes public information.
Yeah, essentially.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Let me ask you
As
this.
long as you have the deed number, it's very important.
What if I buy a house from the seller, there's no mortgage from a bank, it's just a promise of sale, but I realize I'm not able to pay the monthly payment. So I got a guy that will be able to do that. So if I sell it to him, then I take his payment, he gets usage of the house, and I use that to pay the original seller.
We're gonna have to see what the contract says.
Okay.
As well, because
Because I'm hearing where guys who have a mortgage from somebody, they're selling it to another guy, and it's almost a Ponzi scheme where they're taking that payment to pay the original payment.
but then you still owe someone.
Exactly. So you have the first seller.
Yes.
You have the seller, then you have the first buyer.
You're able to pay a mortgage with another loan.
But this is a private point of
But
sale.
also, you also have to take into account what the loan agreement is, because many, at least banks, they have a penalty if you pay in advance. There's a penalty that
If you
doesn't.
paid off. Okay.
Yeah, because of course banks make money on the interest. So if you pay before a lump of sum before it's due, you could also have a penalty. So that's also something that you need to consider when you want to pay off that loan with the bank. You also have to pay that penalty.
Because most people down here are not doing the actual mortgages. They're doing just the sellers holding the mortgage.
Yes.
And
Not the seller. What the seller is doing is they're saying, I won't sell to anyone else. I will sell to you through this promise of sale. I promise that I will sell to you. However, for me to sell to you, you're going to have to fulfill this condition. And this condition is you're going to have to pay the whole sum. And as soon as you pay the whole sum, I will transfer ownership to you. I'll give you a clean title. I'll give you everything you need. Any type of document that you might need, I'll also give it to you. But you're going to have to pay.
makes sense.
Yes.
I'm wondering if maybe we should go live about this one night coming up.
Yes, I'm pretty sure that
I
viewers have
think
questions.
I think this video is going to stir up a lot of questions,
Yes.
as it should.
I would say that the main difference here is that, at least in the States, that was also a big shocker for me, that you have title companies. It's not a public institution that's taking care of all of the land registry of the country. So here, that's what it is. It's a public institution that takes care of all the registration. That's why it's deemed as public faith. It's actually
we have that in the
true
States,
what they're saying.
because all the deeds and titles get registered at the county level, and what we have is we have title companies. You actually pay, and it's like an insurance policy, that if something is missed somewhere, that title company will pay that debt on that property, where the new homeowner won't have to. That's what we don't have down here.
Yes.
So if somebody misses it somewhere, it's still tied to that property.
It's tied to that property,
and
you're
it's
going to
come back and haunt you.
Yes, and it's going to be a huge. It's going to be a huge legal.
Oh, it's going to be. It's going
legal
to go
issue
on
you.
for a long time, because
Yes,
nothing happens
yes.
quickly.
Yes, nothing happens quickly. Luckily, right now it can be a little bit quicker, just because now the before, we recently passed a law regarding our Supreme Court. And before, it would take 3 years for them to set a hearing date.
Wow.
It would take 3 years for them to set up a hearing date, but now it's way quicker.
Well,
It's
just
way quicker.
from my personal experience of buying and selling and
Yes.
building in 15 years down here, it's gotten a lot better. The
Yes.
title's gotten a lot more efficient. There's a lot more transparency.
Mm-hmm.
It's just finally catching up to the
Yes.
way things are working around the world.
And that's also due to the land courts as well, because as disputes arise regarding different surveys and who owns what land, everything gets resolved. So then there's just a clear path on who owns what's on, what are the encumbrances, liens, and mortgages that are on any given property. I would say that the Registry of Titles is very reliable in determining what's on the property.
Who owns it. And even, not that I want to get into this right now, because it's a whole nother video, is how the inheritance laws affect
Yes.
titles down here. And
Yes.
that's something most people have no idea how that can come back and bite your purchase. Can bite you in the tail when it comes to your purchase, because that's a whole nother beast.
Yes. I mean,
And that's mostly when you're buying land out in the campo and stuff like that.
yes. I mean, that's primarily
That's a can of worms right there, man.
That's a can of worms, but we also do estate planning and successions as well. And they're not as complicated, but they're just very time consuming because you're dealing with a lot of different public institutions. And it always depends,
Well, you know,
always on the different cases that you have. It depends if you have a will or not, how you wish to distribute your assets. Are your assets not under your name, but under a company name? So there are many different things that you have to consider. However, foreigners, just as Dominicans, they're able to do an inheritance process in the Dominican Republic. Let's say if, God forbid, but if you were to pass away, your children would have or your successors would have no issue in coming down here in the Dominican Republic and claiming what's rightfully theirs.
Because I have,
They won't lose it.
Yeah,
essentially.
my two children, my guys, you get everything, whether I want you to get it or not. You're gonna get
Yes.
it, so relax. Don't worry about it. Because my kids are German, that's why I
Yes.
speak German. But I think we did a really good job today.
Yes, I agree.
Covering that,
agree.
and let's do more videos. I think people want to understand the cedula process as well.
Yes. I think they should comment and say if they want for us to keep
Well,
making
you know what,
these
guys?
videos.
What's the next video you want us to talk
Yes.
about? What's the next subject that's important to you?
Yes, let us know. I'm very happy to be here. And I think that we have a very pleasant conversation on both ends, because I also learned some things about the way that real estate and mortgages work in the United States. Yes, which is very different from here. But I think we had a very successful conversation on the matter.
And he's my lawyer. I have really pretty much two attorneys. And I bring people into the studio that I trust, I use, and I think it's important for everybody to see how successful things can get done down here with the right people.
You need to have the right people, and by right people, I mean someone that you can actually trust.
And communicate with.
That you express what your needs are, what you want to be, what you want to be fulfilled, and that will be, and finding that right partnership for you to do business with, because at the end of the day, you're doing an investment, and you're investing a lot of capital.
Yes.
So you want that capital to be protected as much as possible, and pretty much the only way that you can assure that is by having a very good attorney that can look at all of the documents before you sign. Something that you have to consider is that all of the documents that you will sign will be in Spanish, because that's the language of the Dominican Republic. And many of the foreigners or expats that come here, they don't dominate Spanish very well. And it doesn't matter if you understand the contract or not, you're still still signing.
English legalese isn't my first language.
You're
either.
still signing. So it's very important for you to really understand what you're signing on to.
Where is your office located?
Our office is located in Calle Benigno La Antigua, number 7. If you're from Sosua, that's right beside the Jehovah's Witnesses church. In Caribe Campo, that's across the street from La Sirena.
Yep, real close.
It's really close.
Yeah, real close. And you can actually
It's a
see his
2-minute
office
drive
right
from
from the highway. So it's right there. I walked to it from Casa de Compai. That's how close he is.
And now with the new entrance of Hispaniola, you can even
Walk
walk
from
from
home. Absolutely.
You can walk from home.
But I will put contact information down in the description below. And guys, thank you for watching. Please subscribe, hit the like button, leave the comments on the next subject you want us to talk about, and always remember, keep private personal and personal private. God bless and peace out.
Thank you.